Refreshing furiously. Hello there, everyone, and welcome to the Storytime Network's very own Paradox Hour. Today, we're gonna be talking about Marvel.
Merle.
Merle.
Specifically, Phase 2 of the MCU, the red-headed stepchild.
That's not entirely
It's
fair. There are some good movies in Phase 2. It's just kind of the weak phase overall.
the awkward thing about this is that while yes, it is decently important to the storyline, there's just it's a more of a transition phase.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Because it's gotten
Because,
past the
like,
introduction of the really important characters, and now has to tie that into the overarching storyline of this part of the MCU.
Mm-hmm.
but at the same time, the writers and directors and all that, they haven't quite gotten a grasp of how to do the proverbial thing.
Well, most of them haven't. The Captain America writers and directors managed to do it fairly well.
Captain America did it decently, and I would say Guardians of the Galaxy managed it reasonably well.
Yep.
Ant-Man is
That's
a bit
pretty
more of a
decent.
mixed bag, though.
Well, we'll get onto that. So should we get started with the first movie?
Iron Man 3, the most controversial entry in this phase.
To be fair, they've retconned the worst part of this in Phase 4.
Or are you guys gonna make me do summaries again?
No, we don't need to do summaries.
Oh well, fuck you, because I wrote summaries.
Go
No,
for it
I was
then.
gonna make you do summaries.
Well, fuck you, I wrote summaries. Not caught me
Go
unprepared
ahead,
this
Mill.
time.
Go ahead.
In Iron Man 3, Tony's past comes back to bite him again. Under the guise of the Mandarin tech expert, Aldrich Killian commits a series of mystifying bombings, one of which injures Happy. Tony, meanwhile, is dealing with PTSD from the Avengers movie, is attacked, escapes, makes friends with the kid from Jurassic World, returns, is taken prisoner after finding out the Mandarin is a British actor, escapes once again, fails to save the President and Pepper, then succeeds and saves the President and Pepper. However, Pepper has already been subjected to extremis and experimental regenerative treatment that can result in minor side effects like exploding. Pepper kills Killian, reunites with Tony, who gets rid of the shrapnel and the magnet in his chest, and they live happily ever after until Ultron.
Yeah, so there's also the post-credit scene is one of the funnier ones in the series.
Yeah, it's Bruce Banner telling Tony that he's a doctor, but he's not a therapist doctor. He's a different kind of
He's
doctor.
not that kind of doctor. He's seven different kinds of doctor, but not that kind of doctor.
I think it's funny the fact that Bruce was just asleep for most of it.
Yeah, that was funny. I
I
do
just
love this
love
dynamic
the
between Bruce and
yeah,
Tony.
the bromance is great.
Mm-hmm.
Also, this introduces us to some things that are actually going to come up quite often in the future of the MCU.
Tony's past coming back to bite him once again.
No, the American government being the American government.
Ah,
AKA a piece.
I do believe that I mentioned that elsewhere.
Probably.
It was in the Ant-Man one. We'll get to the Ant-Man one.
But yes,
Yeah, the U.S.
Iron
government
Patriot.
isn't. The U.S. government isn't exactly treated all that well for good reason.
So, do you know what's funny? I kid you,
Hmm.
Iron Patriot is in fact a comic book character. I'm gonna do my comic nerd thing.
Go ahead.
You know,
Iron Patriot is a comic book character, but do you know
oh
who
yeah,
Iron Patriot is?
Oh,
It's
is it?
not
fucking
Rhodey.
Norman Osborn. No,
Yep, it's
Norman
it's
Osborn.
Green Goblin.
Oh,
Yeah. So basically, Gubblesworth himself decides to do rebranding, in which he kind of takes over the Stark stuff. I think he might have also become president.
No,
It's
I think it's like
but
Secretary of Defense or something.
yeah, so he became Iron Patriot, which is a fake out. Everyone knew it was a fake out, but everyone was hoping it wasn't a fake out. In universe, everyone out of universe knew it was a fake out.
Speaking of fake
Yeah,
outs, how do you all feel about the Mandarin thing?
I'm mixed on it. I think
So the fact that the thing about the Mandarin, right, is that
he's kind
first
of on
off,
shaky ground from his comic book origin.
oh
Is the
no, his
thing.
comic book origin is just racism distilled to a fine, fine point.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Which is why I'm glad that when they introduce him, it'll be as the antagonist to a an Asian hero in the MCU, which is a better way to use him rather than like, oh, it's the white industrialist fighting a an Asian caricature.
yeah, I mean, it's racist whatever way you do it, unless you make some interesting modifications. For example, I still maintain that the best non MCU Iron Man property is somehow the one in which he's a teenager in high school. I forget what it was called, but it's basically Tony Stark is in high school.
That's hilarious.
And it's like it's obviously very sanitized, and it's a very different look at Tony Stark because it's like it's pre-cynicism and alcoholism Tony Stark, but he's
Sound
already Iron Man, so it's a much more wholesome look at the Iron Man series. And in that one, the Mandarin is originally his classmate's father, but then his classmate is like, "I hate you, Dad, so I'm going to take over your magical powers," and he does.
gotta love family business.
Yeah, so it's basically like the dad's a dick, the son is a much more interesting character, and the fact that they're friends, they're pretty close friends in real life, but then they have the whole Iron Man Mandarin reveal. It's a whole thing. It's a really good series. It got axed, but it was one of those good reimaginings that it really shouldn't work, but it does.
It wouldn't be a good Marvel TV series if it didn't get axed.
Mm.
Mm,
It sounds
that's
interesting
sadly.
considering by this point by the end of this movie I was basically going, oh thank God there's no more solo Iron Man movies.
Iron Man, the Iron Man they present, adult Iron Man is difficult to do in a solo movie because like
Like,
he really needs people to bounce off of.
Mm.
which is why I think he works better in Civil War than in Iron Man 2, at least. Like Iron Man 3, it really depends on the mood I'm feeling. Sometimes I like it, sometimes I don't. But I do think it gets a bit too much flack, honestly, because
Now,
the stuff it does well, it does really well.
do you know what's upsetting to me?
But
I wish Ben Kingsley was still playing the Mandarin.
mm,
Right? Like
It would
it's
have
just
been
like
hilarious if he was like faking
if he was
not be
actually if he
faking
was
faking
really
being
was
the
the
Mandarin.
Mandarin, that would
Yeah,
actually be amazing.
that would be actually quite a funny twist. And just
yeah.
and I'll be honest, I've never read any of the Marvel comics, so I don't really give a shit that it was faked. I honestly found it hilarious because just a fucking British dude.
Yeah,
It's
I
Ben
think
Kingsley playing Ben Kingsley.
Yeah.
it's pretty funny, honestly. And also, like, the PTSD stuff with Tony is really well done, I think.
Yes, that much I can say is good. Though you'd think that he'd have like. So you know what's surprising to me is that this is the first time he's gotten PTSD. Like he's
Mm.
been through some stuff by this point.
I
It's
feel like
interesting to me that it wasn't until the space battle that he got PTSD.
You
well,
would
that was a
you would
Outer Benson.
You would think that getting blown up by your own bomb and having shrapnel entrenched in your chest would lead to at least a little bit of PTSD.
And
Hey,
then
maybe
and
it
then
was just this drone that broke
watching
the camel's
your
back.
friend slash mentor who saved your life die in front of you while you're helpless to stop it. That's also kind of not great.
Mm-hmm.
God, Yinsen got shafted.
Yeah,
Poor Jensen. He's such a good character too.
Yeah,
sad that Happy got shelved for this movie.
true, but like it is John Favreau, where we get more of him.
I know we get more of him, but still. How did you guys feel about the kid sidekick?
I liked him well enough. I don't think he outstayed his welcome, which is
Hmm.
good.
Yeah, though it created a very awkward moment at the end of Endgame.
Yeah, where no one recognized him.
Yeah, because it'd been in like out of universe. It had been what 7 years, 6 years.
And in universe, it had also been like a decade.
Yeah, and Ty Simpkins grew up.
That boy had a growth spurt.
It's like it's one of those things where you expect this character to be recurring, and when he's not, it's a bit jarring.
Mm. Yeah, Ty Simpkins is now 19. If you want to feel a bit old.
Oh God. Oh no. I watched that movie in theaters and he was a child.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's also kind of funny. Oh, how do y'all feel about the changes to the Chinese version?
I never watched the Chinese version. All I know is that they added that one scene, and
They basically added a scene at the end where the people doing surgery were a couple of famous Chinese actors. Overall, it's a harmless scene, but it's like it's the issue
seems
of precedent.
Hmm.
it seems like
Like-
a dumb addition.
So it's why it was added.
Yeah, because China. Apparently, Chinese audiences didn't really understand why it was there.
That's because the thing is just because the Chinese audience is there doesn't mean they want it. Just because the Chinese government might want changes doesn't mean that the Chinese audience wants changes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Like, for example, you know what's very odd? We'll get to this in the Thor Dark World part, but apparently there was a small contingent of marketing in China where there was implied to be a romantic subplot between Thor and Loki.
Yeah, I remember that. Those posters are funny as hell.
Which is just. I mean, it's more accurate than most people would like to admit. But at the same time.
Incest
Why?
is people. Incest is wrong.
But they're adopted, Jack. It's legal in Japan.
Fuck off, man.
Look. The fact of the matter is that's still consistently within the top 3 searches in those websites. So,
Oh,
forbidden fruit
I'm
principle.
I'm not gonna pretend anything on that front.
Do you want me
But,
to
like-
go on like the Avengers tag on Archive of Our Own and see how many thoughts?
Ooh, yeah, that would be interesting. Yeah.
Let's actually talk about that when we hit Thor: The Dark World. But well, do we?
I
have
mean, I'm
any
sure you could
talk
make
about
an
with this
argument
movie?
for it with Bruce and Tony as well.
I'm pretty sure that's one of the most popular ships in the MCU.
It's
But
good
not
though,
as
and
popular as Steve and Tony.
yeah, but the thing is, like, Steve chose his old flame over Tony, so it's kind of awkward that way.
Yep.
Right? Isn't it awkward when look, I'm not gonna keep going with the bit, but you know where the bit is going.
I know where the bit's going. Please stop.
So,
Hey, at least this one isn't incest.
There.
speaking of incest, of the non-crossover fix on the Avengers tag, 3,705 of them are Loki / Thor.
God damn.
And 1,205 of those are explicit.
Fucking hell.
So, only 3,000 is honestly less than I thought.
So a fucking lot.
Yeah. Do you want to know what Steve / Tony is?
Ooh, yes.
Is it over 9,000?
Give me a second. Just reset everything. Steve Rogers / Tony Stark, 23,176.
I was correct. It was over 9,000.
Mm-hmm. Well over 9,000.
It's not bad. But at the same time, it's I can understand it. There's less of the taboo element, so it's more of the fan base. Fan base is much more niche, but I suppose it's much more concentrated given the fact that fully a third of them are explicit.
Do you want to know how many explicit ones there are for Steve / Tony?
How many?
Let's give it a look. Only 4,016.
So the ratio.
Dang.
One moment, I have a thing. Please continue without me.
So, any other thoughts on Iron Man 3?
Trying to think what else there was. I mean, the jokes in this were pretty good.
Yeah. Oh, one of my favorites is the one where Tony basically bait and switches Harley into what was the joke? It was one right before Tony leaves.
Oh, like fucking shit. Harley like tries to get Tony to stay, and Tony's just having none of it. Like, are you trying to play me? Do you try to play me? And Harley's like, I'm cold. Get a coat, and drives off.
That was funny.
Yeah, no, that was a good one. How do you feel about Pepper getting the final kill?
That was pretty metal, honestly. Yeah. Like, I appreciate seeing Pepper be a badass, even if it is only occasionally.
Yeah.
But yeah, honestly, Iron Man 3 I think is overly hated, to be fair.
I mean, it's a lot better than Iron Man 2.
Not a high bar.
It is not a high bar because, unfortunately,
I'd say it's in bounds better than Iron Man 2.
Yeah.
Feels like it's less underselling it.
Yeah, it's just the uncomfortableness of going from the Avengers, which was a pretty Tony-heavy movie, to Iron Man 3, which was a Tony-focused movie. And again, he's just a very even. He was better in this movie, but he's still a hard character to maybe not stomach, but enjoy for long periods of time.
Tony is a lot.
But
yeah.
Yeah, we should probably move on to probably. Are we going to say this is the worst movie in the MCU?
Thor 2.
Yeah.
It's neck and neck with Iron Man 2.
Mm. But moving on to Thor 2, The Dark World. In this movie, Thor is off dealing with the Nine Realms when some portals start opening due to the convergence, whatever the fuck that is. Coincidentally, Jane, the love interest, is also investigating the portals and reunites with Thor, but not before she accidentally absorbs the ether, some magic goop. Thor takes Jane to Asgard to try and fail to get rid of it just as the dark elf Malekith attacks, kills Thor's mother, but doesn't get the ether inside Jane. Thor teams with Loki to take on Malekith, who does remove the ether, but then escapes with it after killing Loki, except Loki doesn't die, because he's Loki. Thor defeats Malekith after a battle on Earth, declines the throne, and stays on Earth as the actually alive Loki rules Asgard, and the ether is given to the Collector.
This movie is just so bad.
Mm.
Malekith is just such a non-entity as a villain.
Which is a shame because he's played by Christopher Eccleston, and
yeah,
he's
it's
pretty great.
It's a waste of a really good doctor.
Yeah. I mean, you wouldn't know that Malekith is played by Christopher Eccleston, except for the slight bits of like northern when he talks.
Which is not a lot because he has very little dialogue, and most of that is in a made-up language.
Yeah.
So yeah, Malekith is kind of just very one-note, and he was apparently supposed to be a lot more fleshed out in the original script, but that got kind of canned in favor of whatever the fuck the final product is.
Yeah.
Frickin' elves, am I right?
Mm.
Did you know that Patty Jenkins was originally slated to direct this movie?
Who dat?
She directed Wonder Woman.
Ah.
That would have been a significantly more interesting course of events, I imagine.
Mm.
Yeah.
But, like, can we find an image of the, Hang on, I'm gonna look for the, 4X Loki, poster.
Oh, God.
Oh, Jesus.
I mean, let's be real. There are definitely some good moments in this movie. Most of them via Loki.
Loki is probably the best part of the movie.
And just the whole illusion thing while they're walking and turning into and
Well,
having
let's be
fucking
real.
Chris
Loki
Evans.
is the best part of a lot of Marvel movies.
Yeah, but just the
and
fucking
MCU in general.
just turning into fucking
Captain
Chris
America-
Evans.
I posted it in
Yeah.
the chat, Mill. If you can figure out a way to get that in there, that would be hilarious.
Oh boy.
It's just like, I mean, they know their audience.
Yep.
It's like it's very obviously photoshopped when you look at the existing posters and stuff, but like the fact that they did that is just it's beautiful in ways that I can't.
Give me a second. Documents. That. Okay. Slides it down a little bit. There you go. Thor and Loki romance. Because of course.
Oh my.
I just like this is beautiful in ways that I can't even begin to describe.
Anyway,
We were talking about the moment where the Chris Evans cameo where Loki is fucking around with just messing with Thor on their escape routes, which was a very funny moment, I will say.
Yeah.
One of the highlights of the movie.
I have not watched this movie, and I'm probably not going to.
Don't blame you.
but I've read vague spoiler summaries.
Oh, you missed my fucking summary. Really, not much happens. The only thing of consequence in this movie is Loki disguising himself as Odin to take over Asgard, and the fact that the ether exists.
I mean, so what's kind of interesting here is the fact that a lot of existing artifacts in the MCU are turned into Infinity Stones, which is a good way of simplifying it, but I do wish that they could get some of the more weird
Hmm.
elements of the MCU. I mean, I imagine Phase 4 we're gonna see stuff like Shumagarath, which would be hilarious.
Oh yeah. No, apparently the villain of the next Doctor Strange movie is going to be a fun fellow named Nightmare.
I'm pretty sure they should have just gone with Shumagarath on that one then.
They might be saving that for Doctor Strange 3.
That or they've just merged the characters. Like I'm
Well,
pretty sure
no,
Dormammu and Shumagarath are Doctor Strange's two major non-human enemies.
Oh, by the way, and after having dealt with Tony's PTSD quite well in Iron Man 3, they decide to have Selvig um, be the comic relief of the movie while he's, you know, getting over being basically possessed by Loki,
yep.
which is, great.
I feel like the less we talk about Thor: The Dark World, the better.
I mean, you just want to move on to fucking Winter Soldier.
Can I just say one thing though?
Go ahead.
Is what's
Sure.
interesting is that The Dark World is one of the other movies that was very closely tied into Agents of Shield for some reason.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, no, that's weird.
So
But
yeah,
Captain America 2 has a much closer tie-in with Agents of Shield for much clearer reasons.
Captain America, the Winter Soldier.
aka
AKA the best movie in Phase 2.
Quite easily. So, in summary,
I mean, yeah, depending on the context, you could make an argument for Guardians.
True.
I have issues with Guardians, which we will get to when we discuss it. But in summary, for Winter Soldier, Cap works for S.H.I.E.L.D., meeting new people and saving hostages, except S.H.I.E.L.D. has been taken over by Hydra and they kill Nick Fury. On the run, Steve and Natasha work with Steve's new friend Sam to discover that Hydra intends to use an algorithm to kill anyone who would become a threat to Hydra at any point. Because we all know how well algorithms work as people who post stuff on YouTube.
God, don't even get us started on algorithms. But
Also complicating things is Steve's not dead but brainwashed best friend Bucky, who is also a super soldier and has a cool metal arm. With the help of the not dead Fury, Steve and Sam attack and destroy the tracking system, though Steve gets his ass kicked and then saved by Bucky, as Natasha and Fury reveal all of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s dirty secrets, leading to the government getting involved. Fury sets off to track Hydra as Steve searches for Bucky, and Hydra have a pair of super kids.
also, somehow despite the fact that they, on the surface, solve the issue, it gets into the nitty gritty in Agents of Shield, where a lot of stuff happens
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well,
behind the scenes.
when your show is premised on the agency that is revealed to have been infested by a fuck ton of moles, it kind of upends the whole show.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, and it's one of those things where it was the first. I think a lot of people give Agents of Shield some flack, but I'm pretty sure Agents of Shield was necessary for the Disney Plus shows to exist.
Probably,
Yeah, it does
yeah.
feel like a test run. It was, besides the Netflix shows, it's probably the most successful Marvel TV show before Disney Plus came along.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, the thing that really drags it down is the fact that the network and the budget, right? The fact that it was a network show as opposed to something more in-house like the Disney Plus stuff meant
Mm.
that it was a lot more restricted in a lot of stuff. And yet somehow it managed to like kind of blow the MCU load on like a lot of very interesting Marvel comic storylines and characters.
Mm-hmm.
They got Ghost Rider on there somehow. It's kind of impressive.
Ghost Rider was honestly a pretty good interpretation of the character.
Yeah. But anyways, we're getting off track. We're here to discuss the Winter Soldier.
And the Falcon. Yes, this
Yeah.
is welcome to our discussion of MCU Phase 2 in which we talk about the Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so this is a movie that introduces Falcon and
The Winter Soldier.
That opening scene with Sam is still pretty great.
it is. I just love the whole on your left thing and how it gets called back to later,
Yeah.
both within the movie and within the greater MCU.
Though I'm sure that people remember it much more clearly from the MCU than or from Endgame than from this movie.
Yeah. It's still a nice callback though. But yeah, Sam and Cap have a very fun first meeting, and it's a nice way to set up Sam's later connection to the main plots without being too obvious or too
Yeah.
ham-fisted.
We haven't gotten into the homoerotic subtext yet, though, which is unfortunate.
This movie has so much homoerotic subtext.
Well, no, but between between Steve and Bucky, yes.
Steve and Bucky have 15,642 fix on AO3.
Sam and Bucky or Steve and Bucky?
Steve and Bucky, sorry.
And what is the ratio?
Oh, give me a second. Getting ready to. 3,282 explicit fix. Second
What the
highest.
hell?
20%. 20%, huh?
Second highest rating on the list.
Are we really making a list of homoerotic ships
Apparently
Yes.
so.
and their ratios of explicit to non-explicit?
Apparently so. I mean, I'm not writing any of this down, but, you know, it's on the record.
So, like, why do people not like that ship as much?
Because it's in less movies.
I mean, that's the obvious answer, but do you think there's any other reasons?
Not that I can think of.
By the way, Steven Sam only has 2,906 fix.
Yeah, no, Sam's major Hoye is
Bucky.
with Bucky, not with Steve.
5,170.
And
Yeah,
the ratio?
double.
Let's have a look. So 5,170 fix overall, 848 explicit. Third highest.
Dang.
Okay, leaving the ships aside for a brief moment.
Probably one of the best action scenes in the whole MCU with the elevator fight.
Elevator.
Yeah.
Really good fight.
There were two of the scenes like this in Daredevil, and I think it's just the fact that they're touted as the best really reinforces the idea that people don't like the whole fast cuts, lots of motion blur sort of deal.
Yeah.
People like the more single shot
Yeah. That's why the
fights.
John Wick movies are so popular.
Yeah, because it's not a lot of fast cuts and like motion blur and just like giving the illusion of combat. It's just yeah, these people are beating each other up in
Yeah.
one take.
It's you know, it's an intricate hand to hand fight, which you know doesn't happen all that much. Certainly didn't happen all that much in the previous movie in the phase. Let's be real.
Yeah.
And there's honestly not a lot of room for fights like that when you're dealing with your giant alien lizard worms and your puny gods and your hulks and your laser beams. There's not a lot of room for melee combat.
You say that, and yet you know it.
Or Ragnarok.
Well, Thor Ragnarok exists. Endgame with Iron Man, Cap, and Thor versus Thanos. That was a pretty fucking good hand-to-hand, well, weapon-to-weapon fight.
Yeah, but like the fact that there's only a few examples
Is a
across,
shame.
like 30 movies. Yeah, it's unfortunate because like that's really it's taking that element of superhumans and then grounding them in a more human context that people tend to enjoy a great deal more.
I mean, as anyone who's been listening to our anime season reviews, you'll know that I prefer the intricate fights rather than the beam smash. So yeah, I like Cap. And his
I like
movies.
a balance, right? Like I like the idea of elevating a standard melee fight with like things that aren't humanly possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing is that balance is hard to strike and not a lot of like I think Thanos versus the trio is probably the best example of that because they
That is
are
a
able
good
to
mix,
blend
yeah.
they're able
Yeah.
to blend. I like it when they can blend it. The problem is that it's easier to do a realistic choreographed fight than it is to do the superpowered fights because obviously no one has superpowers, unfortunately. So you kind of gotta you have to improvise, and as a result, it creates that little almost uncanny valley sort of deal. It's occurred to me that uncanny valley applies to a lot of things other than just appearance.
Yeah.
Yeah. Still, like the fight scenes in this are really good. In this movie, rather.
Well, we get
I
just
also
a
like
few
that
of
the movie.
we just get a few of Cap versus Bucky, which is always a good fight.
What's also fun is getting character developments for Black Widow and Nick Fury was also really good.
Yeah. Though, let's be real. Learning that when Fury said the last time he trusted someone, he lost an eye, and the last time he apparently trusted someone was a fucking cat.
That I do love that. That's probably one of the single best
Plot twist.
MCUisms. Like it's like okay, you know what? Here's the difference between it's the difference between the Mandarin. It's like it's the same idea as the Mandarin twist, but it was actually executed a lot better.
Yeah, because the sheer absurdity of it and it actually making sense with Fury and his penchant for just fucking around with people.
Though to be fair, he's not necessarily lying, right? Like
No, he's not.
he did trust that cat. That was an adorable cat that he trusted, and then
But it's just the fact that this is, what, 20, 25 years ago, and he decided, you know what, because this cat scratched my eye out, I'm never trusting anyone again.
I mean, I can't blame him.
Yeah. The funny thing is, too, that's we'll talk about that when we talk about Captain Marvel. We can talk about it more in detail then. But
I mean, the other good thing about this movie is that we get more Samuel L. Jackson, which is always a good thing.
Samuel L. Jackson is one of my favorite actors, and for good reason.
Mm.
He makes almost every movie he's in better by his mere presence.
Yeah.
Even when the movie is garbage, you can at least enjoy
His
Samuel L.
performance.
Jackson.
Yeah. It's hard to go wrong with him. And he has some of the best lines in this movie, too.
He does.
I mean,
just his fucking snark when he snark at his own car when he's getting attacked.
here's the thing. Nick Fury is hilarious, and we will quote everything he says.
Basically.
He's a quip machine.
Mm.
And also, you know what counter we should start? The Nick Fury fake death counter.
Ah, yes.
Or you
No,
know
not-
what? Just Nick Fury
not
death
empty.
counter.
No, let's start an MCU fake death counter.
Yeah, I was thinking that as I was writing the summaries and how many times I had to say, this person died, except they didn't really die. It happens a lot.
So, doesn't Loki die in every movie he's in?
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah, Loki
Except-
has.
he doesn't
except
technically
Avengers.
die in Avengers, but I guess you'd say his ego died after being curb stomped by Hulk.
No, because he gets lost in space.
That was in
Oh,
Thor
oh
1.
no, that was in
That was
Thor.
Thor
Never
1.
mind. Yeah, okay. He gets Hannibal lectured.
Yeah, no, like every other movie besides the Avengers 1, though, he appears in, he either dies or fake dies.
I mean, even when he real died, he didn't act. He kind of didn't die.
Did he fake
We'll
die
get
in
to that when we get-
Ragnarok?
I think he fakes his death at some point.
No. He doesn't. Ragnarok is the one where he does the reconciliation thing,
Mm.
Right.
and people forgive him for the thousands of civilian casualties.
I mean, he's a
During
pretty
Avengers.
likable guy. I'm sure he feels bad about it.
Yeah, about the thousands of innocent people who lost their homes and their families.
Anyways, we keep getting off topic with this movie.
I
But-
mean, it's like this is a very casual podcast. Let's be real.
Yeah, we're not doing full deep dives really. We're just talking about these
True.
movies because they're interesting.
And,
They are.
and talking about the wider context as well, like
It does help. What also is
comic
fun
Loki is so somehow this MCU Loki is somehow both more and less complicated than comics Loki,
Oh yeah, that's fun.
because comics Loki features Shota Loki.
And gender bent Loki.
To be fair, Loki is a shapeshifter in the mythos, so you know.
Yeah.
Loki being gender fluid is not something new. Oh, do you know what's interesting though?
Hmm?
For some reason, they swapped the genders of Loki's parents, or at least they swapped their names in
Oh,
the
you mean
in
his
the comic.
bio parent?
Yeah, his giant parents. Because in mythology, his mother is Laufey and his father is Farboti, but for some reason, Laufey is a recurring king of the giants dude, and Farboti is one of his wives.
Huh.
Which is just, that's one of the things that I'm just like, of all the things to change, why that one?
Yeah.
Speaking of changes, Sebastian Stan does not look as good with the long hair.
The who?
Sebastian Stan. aka the Winter
Oh
Soldier.
no! The short hair Bucky is the way to go.
It's a better look for him, I think. Yeah.
By far.
I do like his intense fight with Steve at the end of the movie, though. It's
Ah,
really
yes,
a good
the
one.
intense, sweaty, close contact fight with Captain America.
I mean, the irony is that Natasha spends the entire movie trying to hook Steve up with somebody only for Steve to get back together with his ex.
They could
Look, let's
take that
be
multiple
real.
different ways.
Natasha is a great wing woman, and Steve doesn't deserve her.
I mean that whole plot line did result in some of the funniest lines. Like,
Also, isn't Steve's ex also his ex's granddaughter?
Niece, grandniece.
That's kind of weird.
Yeah, it is weird, and I'm glad
oh
they
no,
dropped it.
it's incredibly weird. The whole
It's like, yes, I wanted to bang your grandaunt, but I can't, so I'll bang you instead. It's just like, hmm.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, like I
That's
said,
one of
it's
the
weird, and I'm glad they dropped it.
It's one of the few moments where it's like, okay, Captain America, generally this sort of paragon who is very vanilla, not really unusual in any way, and then you get that.
Mm.
I'm just like, what
It's
else
weird.
do we not know about you? How else are you weird?
Do you think he and Peggy practice pegging?
It's in her name, so probably.
Hmm.
That's
That said, he's apparently not ready for a girl with a lip piercing.
Yeah, so they're trying to do that thing where they're balancing the fact that Captain America is from the 40s with modern sensibilities, and like, again, y'all want to know something else very odd about the Ultimates in the comics?
God. Oh,
yeah, I'm gonna bring it up. So
racist Captain America.
So yeah, Captain America is a racist, just bigoted in every way. Do you know what's weird though?
Like the original incarnation of him was a really tolerant guy, even by modern standards.
I mean, he literally was brought into existence to punch Nazis, both in and out of universe.
Mm.
Yep.
But no, the interesting thing is, no one ever called him on it in the comics. For being racist, because they always made the excuse of he's from a different time. However, there was one moment where they called him on it, and they were like, "It's a different time, Cap. You need to be more open-minded." Would you like to guess as to what that instance was?
It was the incest.
It was the twincest, more specifically, in which Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver were banging, and Captain America was like, "Does this not weird anyone else out?" And they were like, "Cap, we know you're a racist from the 40s, but you gotta be more open-minded in the 21st century."
This
Literally
is from
the
Ultimate
only
comics, by the way. The
Yes.
Ultimate.
Literally the only time he's called on it is the only time when he has a point.
Yeah, it's weird.
It's
really
like the
weird.
Ultimates. Also,
Wolverine spies on them banging for some reason too.
I think it's because at some point, Wolverine's relationships are very complicated, as are Magneto's relationships, and the fact that they cross
do
over
not
quite
have
often.
time to tackle all of that.
Basically, Magneto banged Wolverine's sort of adopted daughter, and that's how Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch happened.
The fuck?
I think in at least one universe, Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch are Rogue's kids with Magneto.
Oh yeah, that fucking weird ass universe. Let's just not talk about that. That's just weird stuff.
Look, that's comics, right? That's like, you kind of gotta. I mean, look, Captain America started it by banging his I mean, technically, yes, his grandniece, because since it's not a direct, because with the time shenanigans, then technically.
We'll talk about the time shenanigans when we get to Endgame.
And also, we're gonna have to talk about it in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, aren't we?
Mm.
Probably.
Because we have no idea how the timeline was actually affected, because they kind of broke their own internal rules.
Yep. Anyways, back to a movie that doesn't have time fuckery.
Yet.
Winter Soldier doesn't have
I
any
mean,
time shenanigans
I
involved,
mean it.
unless you count Bucky being on ice.
It
Retroactively.
it sort of makes things, or what happens in Winter Soldier is sort of made weird by the fact that Steve goes back, because he just sort of sat
A
there and
lot
watched
of
this
the
happen.
MCU is made very odd in hindsight. Like there's a ton of memes about it, like the memes about how uh it's 2001 and Peggy's saying, "Oh, Steve, we should go check out the Twin Towers while we're in New York," and Steve just spits out his coffee.
Hmm.
Things like
So
that. There's
the thing is, what is it? So there is debate whether or not Steve traveled back and was present for the main timeline for the whole time, or whether he just traveled back and lived in an alternate timeline the whole time.
But then that's muddied by the fact that he showed up at the end of the movie.
I don't know, man. We will talk about it more when we get to Endgame, okay?
I mean,
Because
I'm just saying that the time for fuckery does in fact like affect this
Retroactively,
movie.
it is present.
Yeah.
yes.
Also,
Anyway,
Black Widow's hair kind of looks weird in the poster. It looks oddly photoshopped.
everything in the poster is photoshopped, including Black Widow.
Yeah, it's kind of awkward.
Yeah, apparently, there was a controversy over the uh, the character posters because Black Widow's was touched up to make her waist thinner,
Ugh.
and people noticed and they got mad about it, understandably so.
If you should touch anyone up, you should touch up Steve to make him thick.
Steve is already thick.
Not thick enough.
Also, we get a reference to Doctor Strange in this movie.
Oh yeah.
Wait, really?
Yeah, because two of the targets for the algorithm, or from the algorithm, were Bruce Banner and Doctor Stephen Strange.
Yep.
Wow, I didn't know they name dropped him that early.
Yeah.
Yep.
Huh. Kind of interesting.
What's funny is I don't know how they thought they would kill Bruce Banner with the airstrikes.
Mm.
Did they really think they could take out the Hulk with a fucking missile?
To be fair, they were under the impression that Bruce Banner is a lot less durable than the Hulk.
He literally turns into the Hulk whenever he gets seriously injured.
I'm
think the
fairly sure
idea
he
is
can
that-
turn into the Hulk even when he's supposed to be dead.
Yeah, and
Or
the
Ragnarok
thing
proves
is,
that, yes.
they didn't necessarily know that, so they were probably just hoping that if they one shot him, then he wouldn't turn.
So
It's a vain hope.
So yeah, so even if Cap had failed here, still probably would have taken out the heli ship just via Hulk.
Yeah. What's funny is that
Existing.
Phase 2 is also weird in that there's not a lot of crossover between the characters, between franchises.
Yeah, except for the characters that don't have their own movies.
Yeah.
No one really shows up.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot better than Phase 3 where there's a lot more interconnectedness, but Phase 2 there's not a lot of that.
So do you think what's his name from the original Rhodey was regretting it by the time Phase 2 rolled around?
Probably yes.
Oh yeah.
Like if he wasn't regretting it in by the time of Avengers, he was probably regretting it at least by Iron Man 3
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
onwards.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
I forget his name. I always think it's Cuba Gooding Jr.
Terrence
for some
Howard.
reason. Terrence Howard, right. We actually talked about this in the last podcast as well.
Yep.
Well, once we get
Anyway.
to Ultron, we're gonna have to do a similar talk.
Oh?
Yeah, Joss Whedon.
Oh God,
Oh, no, that's not a similar talk. That's a
that's a very
significantly
different.
different talk.
But yeah, Winter Soldier is a very, very good movie. Like, out of all the Phase Two, I think it is probably the narratively strongest
Mm,
movie.
It also features buff men getting real sweaty together.
mm.
Oh my!
Also, I'd like to point out that when I made my comment about Natasha trying to set things up and then Steve just got back with his ex, when I said ex, I did mean Bucky, not Peggy.
That's why I said you could take it multiple ways.
Hmm.
Yeah, okay, I can buy that, but at the same time, let's be real. Uh,
There's a lot of homoerotic subtext between Steve and Bucky. Let's be real.
Hmm.
like a lot. Yeah, I think
At
we've said
least
all we can about this, so we should move on then.
To
to Guardians of the Galaxy,
Guardians of the Galaxy.
which has the best soundtrack of any movie in the MCU.
Look, to be fair, it's not hard to have a good soundtrack when you literally pick the best songs of the 80s.
Hmm.
True. True. Yeah,
Right, when
Guardians of the
when a
Galaxy
plot
1
point
and
is
2 had some really good ass songs.
it also has Groot.
Anyway, in summary, 8-year-old Peter Quill is abducted by aliens and becomes a mercenary? I'm really not sure what his job is. He steals a mysterious orb and then fights Gamora, Rocket, and Groot for it, but they all get chucked in prison. After teaming up to escape, along with Batista, they go to sell the orb on Nowhere, except Batista summons Ronan the Accuser, who also wants the orb for some weirdo named Thanos. Ronan curb stomps all involved, takes the orb, which is actually an Infinity Stone, and goes to Xandar, a typically futuristic capital. Meanwhile, Quill's adoptive father Yondu arrives, saves Quill, and the gang agrees to help fight Ronan in return for the stone, and they fight Ronan's army. Quill takes the stone and survives thanks to the power of friendship, which also then vaporizes Ronan, and then he hands the stone off to Xandar's government, with the group receiving the title Guardians of the Galaxy in return.
So this whole movie was precipitated by Thanos trying to grow his rock collection.
Mm-hmm.
He does like them pet rocks, though.
Yeah.
Yep.
So there's some interesting, like, this is the first look we get at the Thanos saga.
Mm.
Well, this is our first look at Thanos. We see him first in the stinger to Avengers.
True, but this is the first time he has a role in this.
This is the first time he appears as more than a cameo.
Was he? Yeah, he. Josh Brolin wasn't even playing Thanos in Avengers, so this is the first time we get to see Josh Brolin Thanos.
Mm-hmm. He's still a different color than he is in Infinity War, though.
Yeah, they hadn't gotten the color correction and the exact.
In fairness, in Guardians of the Galaxy, he's mostly in darkness and shadow, so you can get away with it.
Like his heart.
Mm-hmm. So
yeah,
God, I cannot stop thinking about the fact that there exists a universe in which Donald Duck shoots laser beams at Thanos.
What?
Because theoretically, theoretically, we could get Marvel stuff in Kingdom Hearts.
Mm.
Oh no, Fuzzy. You unleash the Kingdom Hearts fans.
No, but like, Groot would be an excellent party member in Kingdom Hearts. I imagine he'd get along very well with Goofy.
Yeah. Then again, does this form of Groot get along badly with anyone?
True, Groot is probably this adult Groot is the single most lovable character in live action movies I've seen in recent memory.
Yeah.
I don't think adult Groot had a bad bone in his body.
Mm.
I mean, he did murder a bunch of people with a smile on his face.
That was funny, yes. That is one of my favorite scenes in the movie. Just going ham on a bunch of space pirates.
And the way he does it, he literally skewers them all consecutively.
And uses them as bludgeons to take out a bunch of others.
Yeah.
It's adorable and terrifying at the same time.
Uh-huh.
Also, be honest, did you cry?
No.
I almost cried when Groot died.
This was one of the very one of the very few MCU films that I watched before my big binge earlier this year, and it is probably the Guardians of the Galaxy films are probably the only ones that I've actually gone to the theaters to watch.
And they are also some of the most standalone ones.
Yeah, they're very easy to watch on their own without having to worry about continuity too much.
Well, 1 and 2.
Yeah.
3 is going to be significantly more difficult considering the fact that,
Thor is it?
thick Thor.
Yeah.
It's not just Thor, it's thick Thor.
Also, I make no bones about it, the reason I did watch the first Guardians of the Galaxy in the theaters is pretty much solely because of Batista.
Oh, I thought it was because of Chris Pratt shirtless.
I'm trying to remember if I'd watched... No, I can't. No, it was the other way around. No, it was definitely just Batista. I didn't know about Chris Pratt that much by then.
Speaking of Batista, he's actually surprisingly very good in this movie.
Batista is a surprisingly good actor who is unfortunately typecast in a few very specific roles.
I mean,
honestly, I think he adds a lot of depth to Drax here.
I'm honestly not surprised at how good of an actor Batista is, because he spent so many fucking years basically doing that.
Yeah, no, but no, it's a different kind, right?
It is a different kind.
Acting in a soap opera.
Yeah.
It's a difference between acting in a soap opera and more mainstream stuff.
But the building blocks are definitely still...
soap opera and theater.
No, but yeah,
the building blocks are definitely still there, and Batista was always a good talker in WWE.
Well, I mean, just let's put it this way. He has a surprising amount of range, which a lot of people in wrestling don't have, right? Like, a lot of people in wrestling can, their acting skills tend to be one note, but Batista has range, like The Rock.
The Rock and Batista are the only two wrestlers turned actors I can think of off the top of my head who do it consistently pretty well.
Yeah, most of the others tend to just have like cameo sort of like stuff where they're not because
for the time
they're
being
good actors, but because they're wrestlers.
For the time being, they're the only ones who've really sort of thrown themselves into it. I think Cena is getting there. It's going to be it's going to be very interesting to see how he comes out of Suicide Squad.
Yeah, from what I've seen him in Suicide Squad,
apparently he was
good
funny. In Fast 8 or 9 or whatever.
Fast 9. That one still hasn't come out yet.
Cena is another one who is a very good actor, so it wouldn't surprise me. It's just the fact that he's been so attached to staying wrestling and doing fucking WWE Studios movies, which are terrible.
Yeah, I've watched one of those at one point when I was very young. They're not good.
They're really not good.
Something's occurred to me. Has The Rock been in the MCU yet?
No, he hasn't.
Nope.
That's really weird.
I mean, they could cast him as Hercules since they've already cast his dad.
But, it's really odd, isn't it? Like, The Rock is the person you would expect to be kind of attached to the MCU in a big way.
I mean, the MCU's overall cast has gotten increasingly star-studded over the years.
True, but, you'd think they'd have gotten him early on, right? Because he's got a good relationship with Disney as well.
The mouse.
Yeah, no, it's not like he hates the mouse, because he's already been with the mouse, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, he was Maui, which he was good in that role.
So apparently, hilariously enough, his daughter made him not sing along to
That
his
is
own
funny as
song.
hell.
That's I love the idea that he's just trying to show off to his daughter, and then she's just like, "Stop it! You're ruining the movie by acknowledging that you're in it." It's
That's
just
great.
that's just the
Such a
amount,
kid
the
thing.
sheer amount of concentrated wholesome dad energy in that post just made me die.
It's lovely.
But yeah,
But
it's
yeah,
just like you'd think he'd have been like I feel like he might not object to being a more major role as well.
honestly, like I said, I would not be surprised if they cast him as Hercules, but I also would not be surprised if they cast him as another like big role at some point.
Mm.
Oh fuck! Imagine The Rock as Namor.
Oh my god. Do you know what's funny? They might end up trying to get Jason Momoa as Namor just to rub it in DC's face.
That would be funny, but I also love the idea of The Rock as
No, no,
Namor.
they'd both make a great Namor, especially if they were post irony Namor,
Mm.
I
in which they realize that Namor is a meme and then treat him as such.
I'm
Because
looking
I'm pretty
at
sure both Jason Momoa and The Rock would have a blast doing that.
I'm looking at The Rock's filmography. I think he's leaning more towards the DC side.
Yeah, he is Black Adam.
Because he's Black Adam. He's in a voice role for a DC animated thing. And he was an executive producer on Shazam.
AKA one of the few decent DC movies,
Mm.
from what I've heard.
Not to mention, they bring out like a new fucking Fast and Furious like every year and a half. So he's very busy doing that as well.
He also, though to be fair, he didn't get on that train until the midpoint,
2011.
and then he. Yeah, but didn't the first Fast and the Furious movie come out in like?
No,
the
I
early
mean
2000s?
it is the midpoint. It's Fast Five, but like, 2011. That's still only a couple of few years into the MCU.
And then in Fast 7, he flexed his cast off
Mm-hmm.
because he was apparently
hell.
all better after falling from a 12-story building onto a car
Mm-hmm.
in just a few days. You know what's funny? This is a bit off topic, but I love the fact that they're leaning more and more into the fact that the franchise is ridiculous, and they're
Fast
having
and Furious is the most anime live action thing I've ever seen.
and they're leaning into it, and they're like having the characters acknowledge it. Like, I'm pretty sure in one of the trailers, they're like, "Okay, so we've done tanks and subs, and like, what's next? Aliens?" And I'm like, I would watch a Fast and the Furious movie where they pivoted to sci-fi.
Where they go full trigger.
Yeah, they're just pivot to aliens. Just have an alien invasion, and then have Vin Diesel and The Rock fist fight with some like insect monsters. Like that's the logical next step in that franchise. I feel like this is more of a general movie podcast now.
I mean, there's not a lot to talk about with the Phase 2 movies, honestly.
Yeah.
However, we could go back to talking about Guardians because it is a fun movie. And like we said before, it is probably the most standalone of the early to mid MCU stuff.
Yeah.
Also, this was where I learned that Benicio del Toro and Guillermo del Toro were in no way related.
They're not.
That is funny.
No,
Wow. Okay.
pretty sure they're from different countries.
So, Benicio is from Puerto Rico. There's Guillermo del Toro. And Guillermo del Toro is from Mexico.
Yeah, so they're like, not only are they not related, they're from different continents.
Yeah.
That is funny as hell.
Like, what are the odds? But yeah, I'm like, I also got them confused a lot, so I was like, wait a second, the guy who directed like Pan's Labyrinth is in here, and I'm just like, where?
I do love Benicio del Toro just hamming it up
Yeah.
as the collector.
Oh, absolutely.
Also, Howard the Duck, huh?
Yeah, he makes an appearance. I don't know who he is, but he's funny. So.
So, Howard the Duck, the movie, does in fact predate the MCU.
By like 20 years.
And it's hilarious. It's like the time David Hasselhoff played Nick Fury. Which that's a movie that it just is an experience.
Mm.
But yeah, Howard the Duck features Howard the Duck, and also has sex scenes involving Howard the Duck.
And also duck tits for some reason.
So yeah, the fact that that's acknowledged to be at least partially canon in the MCU is kind of terrifying.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Ed Norton Hulk I can understand, but Howard the Duck, that's just no.
But yeah, but there are a bunch of other like really good actors and actresses. Karen Gillan as Nebula. Love Karen Gillan.
Oh, yeah.
Michael Rooker, one of the few good things of from Walking Dead.
Him as Yondu is just so good.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, is that where he's from?
Yeah.
Yeah, Yondu is one of the best parts of this.
I mean, his fucking weapon is so OP.
Do you know what's funny? His comic variant is very odd. Because so Yondu is completely unlike both variants of him in the comics.
Okay.
Like, in the comics, he's from a species. So he's from a sort of tribal caricature species in which he uses a bow and arrow and has a mohawk. And his species apparently has the ability to control sound waves, so that's how he controls his arrows, with whistling. Whereas here, it's just a cybernetic implant. I forget what the other version is, but that one was a darker and grittier version that's just kind of odd. But in every comics so let's be real, the comics version of Guardians of the Galaxy is not great.
No. They're not.
Groot is good, but Star-Lord is just a non-entity, sort of. Though, do you know what's funny? This is kind of something that the MCU has a recurring theme of. They tend to turn characters who aren't necessarily villains in the comics into one-off villains in the series. Because, like, Ronan is kind of one of the recurring allies of the Guardians of the Galaxy in the comics. He's kind of an okay dude. Like, not super racist like he is here.
Well, technically, you can't call Ronan a one-off villain after fucking Captain Marvel.
Oh, right, because Captain Marvel's kind of a prequel earlier in the... Oh, right, I forgot about that.
Mm.
But, like, it counts, since this was his last chronological appearance.
Yeah.
True.
He did get melted.
By the power of friendship.
And
Friendship
also by
really
the
is.
power of interspecies copulation.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, we find out that Star-Lord is a hybrid at the end of the movie.
Also, who his dad is very different in...
We'll talk about that when we get to Guardians 2.
No,
Yeah.
in the comics, his dad is just a generic alien warrior dude named Jason of Spartax. I kid you not. And
No, it's
Jason
of Spartax.
Yes, it's Jason of Spartax.
Which is just so fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, so that's probably a very positive change.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, it's some random jock
Yeah.
from a generic warriors civilization based on Sparta.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what else is
How
there
do
to
we
talk about?
how do we feel about Rocket?
I like Rocket.
I Rocket is good in controlled bursts,
Mm.
shall
Hmm.
we say? Right? Rocket
Yeah.
kind of you gotta realize that he's a
Kind of an asshole.
sometimes food.
Mm.
I
Rocket
think he
is
works really.
Tony, but
He's
uh,
literally cyborg raccoon Tony.
he's also we still have no idea what his deal is. By the
Mm.
way,
Oh no, we don't.
contextually speaking,
We get the basis of his backstory in Guardians 2, but yeah.
yeah, the details we don't really know at all at any point, which is kind of interesting and odd.
We'll probably find out in Guardians 3.
Probably will, considering James Gunn loves fucking raccoons.
Phrasing.
He literally said those words in an interview and got the exact same bit, or basically the same sentiment replied back at him, just like, do you want to rephrase that just a little bit?
God. Anyways, also Gamora is pretty fun in this movie.
Yeah.
I do love her interactions with Nebula too,
Mm.
but that gets a lot more flesh on it in
In two.
Guardians. But
I don't know how I feel about her pelvic sorcery comments.
I think it's funny.
But like, you know what? Let's just move on.
No,
Yeah,
That's
no.
probably
mo-
for the
I'm interested to see why it would not, or why it would be bad.
It's kind of like it's a bit tropey. Like the entire romance between
Ah, yeah, that's fair.
Quill and Gamora is kind of, yeah. Oh yes, these two people have known each other for like 2 days,
Yeah.
I
and
do
they
appreciate though that at least between this movie and Guardians 2, it's pretty clear that they don't become like an actual couple overnight. It
yeah
just
they do
establishes
work
like
on it. It's
it
just like
establishes like a romantic tension rather than like, oh, they're hooking up now.
it's just one of those things where it's just like, this is a. You wonder if it's reasonable for a strong female character to kind of be like. If you wonder if it's a bit demeaning to Gamora as a character to be
Could be.
treated this way by the narrative.
It could be.
That's fair.
But that is a discussion to be had with Guardians 2 where the romance subplot gets more focus.
Mm-hmm. Also, we haven't talked about John C. Reilly, who's pretty great.
Oh yes, that his
John
scenes
C.
are
Reilly
fun.
tends to be good wherever he is.
Mm-hmm. There are very few exceptions to that. Like his exchange with Quill towards the end of the movie is just so funny,
Yeah.
and his reactions to Rocket asking about the extent of how his pardon works is also a really funny scene.
I mean, the funny bit of that is fucking Drax just going, if somebody irritates me and I rip out his spine, would that be okay?
Yep. God.
So, yes. I believe that's about it for this.
Yeah. So, moving on to Avengers Age of Ultron.
Oh boy.
The other awkward middle child
In
of
summary,
the.
the Avengers attack a Hydra base and recover Loki's scepter. Tony then uses it to create the sentient defense system Ultron, who examines humanity and instantly decides to kill everyone. With the help of the Superman.
Not Go ahead.
With the help of the Super Maximovs, Ultron decides to upgrade with some vibranium, with the trio causing some chaos along the way. Unfortunately for him, mind reader Wanda realizes all humans include her and her brother Pietro and join the Avengers. Said Avengers then steal Ultron's shiny new body, stick an Infinity Stone and Jarvis in it to create Vision, and head to Sokovia, a generic Eastern European country that Ultron intends to slam dunk into the Earth. The Avengers put a stop to Ultron at the cost of Pietro, though Sokovia is still destroyed. Thor leaves for Asgard, Stark fucks off, Barton retires, and Steve and Natasha have to train new Avengers as weirdo Thanos finally gets off his ass. Also, Natasha wants that Hulk dick.
I really am not a fan of that romance
It's not a good.
subplot.
It's not a good subplot at all.
I've heard that like people theorize that the reason that it was put in was because Joss Whedon was, or either Joss Whedon or the did Joss Whedon write the film? I forget if he was a screenwriter or not.
Let me check.
But like there's people theorizing that like was it?
Yes, in fact, it was written by Joss Whedon.
Of course, people have been theorizing that the reason it was written that way was that he used Bruce Banner as a self-insert.
Of course he would. Because he's
Yeah,
a creepo.
so let's just get the elephant in the room out of the way right now. Joss Whedon is a piece of shit, and any praise for this film should not be directed at him because he actually did make the film worse by most of his contributions to the film were bad, honestly. Like all the good stuff in the film can be directly traced to the actors or the effects team. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yes. It's a.
I mean,
At this point,
the one good thing I will say about this movie is the humor is pretty good.
Yeah. Though I do feel like the humor can overstay its welcome a bit in this movie. Like, there's a difference between letting off tension during a big battle and just having it be a joke-filled quip fest.
Yeah.
Rather than tense final battle.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're making quips and people are dying in the background.
Yeah, there's a lot of awkwardness here in general. But I think the most awkward thing is how they handle some of the interactions between the Maximovs and the Avengers, and also there's the whole thing of Wanda's ambiguous accent. And also the fact that there's a good chance that they killed off Quicksilver for the sole reason that their version of Quicksilver wasn't as cool as the X-Men version.
I'm pretty sure the other reason is because Joss Whedon wanted to fulfill his reputation of killing off characters, and Vision and Scarlet Witch are too important to kill off, and they didn't want to kill off any of the main Avengers, so by possible elimination, it had to be Pietro.
Poor Pietro.
He really got shafted.
And not by his sister, too.
God damn,
look, when, like, every single version except the movie version has, if not explicit, then implicit incest between those two, you have to wonder what's going through the minds of the writers.
Do you think they practice pegging?
Clearly the writers don't have siblings.
But yeah, it's just one of those movies where, I mean, we get Paul Bettany. That's nice.
Yeah.
Paul Bettany as Vision is really good.
Paul Bettany in general. Paul Bettany
is really good in general.
Yeah.
It's hard to go wrong with Paul Bettany. Oh,
he's also. Yes, go ahead.
Apparently, Paul Bettany was originally happy to just take his check and run off after like a few hours in the recording booth as Jarvis. But when he started playing Vision, he actually really really took to the role and enjoyed it immensely.
Mm.
I mean, Vision is kind of the kind of character he plays because very much the unusual fish out of water hammy character. Vision is a lot more subdued than the usual ham that he plays, but Vision is pretty hammy.
Yeah.
Hmm. I also find the scene where Vision lifts Thor's hammer absolutely casually pretty funny.
I mean, it's just it is that's just great. But it's then just Thor going, "Well done, Stark," and just walking away, just like, okay, problem solved.
Another fun scene. Oh, I don't think we've talked about any of the Stan Lee cameos.
No, we haven't really.
The Stan Lee cameo in this movie is actually really funny.
Isn't it the
He gets he gets sloshed on his guardian booze.
Oh yeah, that one. That one. Yeah.
Thor's even like, I don't think anyone here but me or Steve could handle this. And and Stan Lee says, I can handle this. I handled the beaches at Normandy.
Mm-hmm.
And what's funny is that in universe he's actually an alien.
Yeah, in
Some
universe, he's basically like an informant for the Watchers, which is really fun.
which explains how he's seemingly immortal and also shows up at on different planets just casually.
But yeah, Stan Lee cameos are pretty fun. Some of them are better than others. The one in this movie is one of the better cameos, I think.
I'll be honest. I don't think there's been a bad Stan Lee cameo. I just love seeing him in every movie.
It is fun, yes.
I'm
And
gonna
sad that we
miss
won't
him
get
in
it.
Phase 4.
Yeah.
I miss him. Stan Lee was too good for this world.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, getting back to the meat and potatoes of this movie, Tony did an oopsie. Again.
You're gonna have to be more specific than that.
Yeah.
Ultron, naturally.
Well, yes, we know, we know, but yeah, you, whenever you say Tony has done an oopsie, you do have to specify when and how.
Yeah, no.
I mean, in
Well,
some ways,
technically Bruce helped in this case, but at least Bruce cops to being on the wrong side here.
Mhm.
I mean, to be fair, it's not like Tony has 100% track record of building murderous AI. He's 50-50 on it. Because, like,
Out of
Ultron
two.
didn't turn out great, but, like, Jarvis turned out pretty well.
Yeah.
He's 1 for 2.
That's a
Which,
better ratio
honestly-
than most people.
Yeah, it's a better ratio than basically every other killer AI creator.
Fair.
I have to admit, I do like the fight between Tony and the Hulkbuster and Hulk.
That is a really good fight, yeah. It is also one of the better blends of tension and humor, I
Yeah.
think, in a fight scene in this movie.
I still say,
Hulkbuster in general, people have been waiting for that for a while.
Yeah.
I still say my favorite moment of that fight is Tony smashing Hulk with the elevator, Hulk just glaring, and Tony just going in a very small voice, "I'm sorry."
Yeah, Tony got
Because
his shit wrecked.
it's one of the very few moments Tony really just realized, yeah, I fucked up with that quip.
Oh man. So, what are the thoughts on Scarlet Witch in this movie? Because she's come a long way over the course of the MCU,
So,
but this is her first big role.
So do you know what's interesting? This is the beginning of the Hawkeye Renaissance,
Right.
in which Hawkeye starts to become like the most likable and or generally cool member of the Avengers
Yeah.
somehow.
Yeah.
And it's like the fact that he hangs that lampshade of like there's aliens and giant robots and wizards and I'm a guy with a bow and arrow.
Yeah.
I'm just like, okay, we understand that you realize it, but at the same time, it's a touch hypocritical, don't you think?
Hawkeye just Hawkeye is infinitely funnier and more entertaining in this movie than he was in Avengers 1.
Well, in Avengers 1, he just didn't get a chance to really show any
Have a
personality
character.
because he was basically like fucking whatchamacallit, brainwashed through most of it.
Mm-hmm.
And now we get a bit of his actual character, which is just a guy who realizes he's in over his head, but kind of just sticks around anyway because someone has to, something because you got to put food on the table somehow.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He's not really good at anything other than shooting a bow and arrow.
Yeah. I mean, again, you know, favorite fucking line in the movie is just him about to shoot Pietro in the back, just going, "Nobody would know. Nobody. Nobody would know." Yeah, last I saw him, and Ultron was sitting on him. Yeah, we missed that quick little bastard. I miss him already. Yeah. Yeah.
Sucks that he dies almost immediately after this.
Yeah.
I have very complicated feelings on Hawkeye in this franchise because I'm like, from an in character point of view, he's a very very likable character.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
But from a meta point of view, it's just like Disney. You're trying to have your cake and eat it too by having a down to earth character, but not actually making it down to earth at all. Right? They're trying to use logic and then also uh, defying their own logic. So it's kind of just like,
Mm.
hmm.
I mean, the point is that even the badass normals in Natasha and Hawkeye, they're still badass.
Yeah, no, like by by the standards of a normal human, they are in the top 0.01% of vanilla humans in terms of their capabilities.
Yeah.
It's just
So
that
like, you know
every
what
other
I've
Avenger is
kind of always
superhuman.
wondered? Why does Stark not just give them some super suits?
Because Tony is a glory hog who likes his own to keep his super suits to himself. Thank you very much.
And given like the relationship between Hawkeye and Tony in this movie, I'm willing to bet Hawkeye just doesn't want to ask.
Yeah, Tony would probably be a dick about it, or just annoy the shit out of Clint.
Yeah. So
But yeah, back to Hawkeye and his interactions with the twins, especially Scarlet Witch, are really fun.
mm,
Like he helps give them a bit of character development that they desperately needed because
Yeah.
for the first half of the movie they're just kind of playing slightly more than one note baddies,
yeah.
and then they get a lot more depth after they actually turn good.
Mm. Again, though, it does take a frustratingly long time for Wanda to realize that, hey, killing all humans does actually involve the two of them.
Yeah, no, it's like, hey, wait a minute. Our genocidal robot buddy is actually fully genocidal. Shit.
Yeah.
Guys, is genocide a bad thing?
Not if you read Attack on Titan.
Hans, are we the baddies?
Yeah, she does have that moment, doesn't she?
Oh,
God.
Mitchell and Webb, I love them.
That sketch is just so applicable. Oh god.
If that's the only one you've watched from the Mitchell and Webb show, please watch more.
You'll have to send me some links or tell me where I can find more of it.
Yeah, because Mitchell and Webb are a great duo.
What are they? What, the British Key and Peele or something?
Um, sort of. I haven't watched enough of Key and Peele to really make that comparison, but both are hilarious. But David Mitchell in particular is genuinely fucking fantastic.
Nice.
And I believe we've
Oh,
uh,
we should talk about Ultron because we haven't actually talked about Ultron all that much, other than him being Tony's latest oopsie.
and also being that guy. What's his face?
Robert. No, not Robert Richard.
James Spader.
That's the guy.
James
James
Spader,
Spader.
right, James. And once again, continuing the trend of, hey, that's a pretty good actor. Oh, he died in the only movie he's in. Okay.
Yeah. No, I mean, Ultron as a character was fairly
Meh, yes.
fairly meh, but James Spader just the dry sense of humor, or just the dryness in his delivery of the humor was great.
Yeah. James Spader is probably one of the most wasted actors here, but at least they made use of his charisma.
Yeah.
I do appreciate that a lot of later MCU movies go to the effort of not killing off their villains, but it's particularly bad in Phase 2. Because I think every single major villain in the Phase 2 movies dies.
And a lot of them in Phase 3 as well.
A lot in Phase 3, but more of them survive Phase 3 than Phase 2.
But yeah, Ultron said what we were all thinking when he noted that the most versatile substance on the planet in vibranium, and they used it to make a frisbee.
That is a good line.
It is. I mean, he's got a point.
Mm-hmm.
He is correct.
That's what I mean. Like, he said what we were all thinking.
But
I mean,
yeah,
it's kind of a magic frisbee. Yeah, I think we've kind of exhausted our material on this.
bottom line.
Well, no, I've got a couple more funny lines that I want to mention.
Fair enough.
The when Thor yells, "Is that the best you can do?" and Ultron does his "I am Legion" bit.
That wonder shot of all the Avengers fighting off the Ultron bots is pretty fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But yeah, that is pretty much it for Ultron. So moving on to the final Phase 2 movie, Ant-Man.
Ant-Man is a weird one.
In summary, unaging thief Scott Lang retakes his life of crime after the US rehabilitation system fails again. Unfortunately for him, his robbery is but an audition for the role of the shrinkable Ant-Man in Weird Old Man Hank Pym's plan to stop his protege, Lex Luthor lookalike Darren Cross, from recreating the shrinking technology. Unsurprisingly, they fail at the first attempt, and Scott is forced to chase Cross to his ex-wife's house. Scott saves his daughter from Cross and escapes the quantum realm while also escaping a prison sentence. Scott is then recruited by Sam due to a brief fight earlier in the film. I had to throw in a fucking Paul Rudd.
He is
joke.
not aged at all.
No, he really hasn't. You look at him you look at him in Friends and you look at him now, and there is no difference.
I joked before on Discord that if you were to cast Paul Rudd and Keanu Reeves in a hypothetical Highlander reboot,
Yeah.
that'd be pitch perfect casting because they are the two most mimetically ageless people in Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, Ant-Man, in which they try really hard to make the technology consistent for the first few minutes of the movie and then give up immediately.
Yeah.
To be fair, it's really hard technology to make consistent.
Hmm.
Because, like, they're like, oh, it changes size, but it doesn't change density. And I'm like, okay, that kind of makes sense. And then immediately have them do shenanigans which involve changes in density as
Yeah.
well. Just like, oh, I
It's
see.
basically pin particles are magic. There's
Yes,
no other
no.
way to
I'm
say
pretty
it.
sure. I'm pretty sure Doctor Strange has more internal consistency with his powers than Pym particles.
Yeah.
Not not surprising.
Also, let's be real. Lewis, Dave, and Kurt were pretty much one of the best parts of the film.
They're funny, yeah. I love I just love Luis and his little monologues.
Yeah. No, they are great. And there is a reason their role got upgraded. Certainly, Lewis gets upgraded in the next film.
Hmm. But yeah, this has one of my favorite Stanley cameos because it's right near the end, and it's him being voiced over by Luis.
Hmm.
Which is, it's like Ant Man is better as a comedy than as a serious action movie.
Oh,
Like the
absolutely.
characters, the setting, it's better.
Oh god, the
Which is
I've just remembered the fucking Baskin Robbins always finds out thing.
also, here we get the beginnings of the Thanos Protocol,
Oh yes.
in which people kept asking the question, why would Ant Man not just go up Thanos's butt and then expand again?
Well,
Which,
the actual answer is because his intestines are too strong.
yeah, no, but the fact that an actual representative had to come out and answer that because of how popular that theory was is just
I did not know they
beautiful.
actually had to officially refute
No,
it.
and if there was an official someone on the official Twitter was like, someone who worked on the movie was like, look, we get it, but his butt is too strong.
Yeah.
Thanos' butt is too strong from clapping his cheeks.
Hmm.
I mean, Thanos is pretty dummy thick, though.
We will get to Thanos and his thickness when we talk about Infinity War.
Hmm.
But, like, if his intestines are too small for, like, Scott Lang, what if you just put a whole building in there? Right? Because, like, they shrink entire buildings down, so you just, like, shrink a building down real small, then have Scott go up his butt, and, like, just, oh god, Thanos inflation.
Please no. Please no. No. End this thought now.
So,
End this thought now.
Fuzzy, Fuzzy, we will
Okay.
mute you
Going
this
on
line
to
of thought.
not horror stuff. Did like Sam's cameo in this.
It was a pretty fun cameo.
Yeah.
I'm honestly like
Yeah. So
was
has
an
it occurred to you
interesting
guys how many problems in this universe would be solvable if they just like shared the technology between heroes?
too many problems.
Like, can you imagine how many of the issues in Falcon and the Winter Soldier would have been non-issues if they just given them both some Pym particles?
Yeah, but capitalism means that they don't share anything.
And also, apparently, pin particles are dangerous or something. I don't know.
And doesn't stop Paul Rudd. Though he is immortal, so
Yeah,
maybe immortality offsets the danger.
He's a
very
Highlander.
possible.
What can But yeah, this is still a pretty fun movie. I also I really like their use of the mentor dynamic between Scott Lang and Hank Pym.
Mm.
It was probably a very good decision to make it so that Hank Pym was not Ant-Man, but in fact the mentor. Because
Yeah.
oh, do you know what's interesting? In the comics, Hank Pym is the one who invented Ultron, not Tony Stark.
Ah,
Yeah,
interesting.
and he based Ultron off of his mental patterns.
Yeah, and also and also Hank Pym beats his wife.
Less interesting.
That is one of those comic things that no one will ever let him live down, honestly. And it was a
I mean,
one-time thing too.
true, but like it's never a good look.
No, it's never a good look. But there are worse looks for several of the Avengers, honestly. We can talk about that more in a different podcast, though.
But yeah, so Hank Pym is the original Ant-Man, even
Yes.
in the MCU, right?
Yes.
He was
Yeah.
doing it before
Yeah.
he ever found Scott Lang. So it's very interesting. Also, the digital de-aging technology
I think it
hadn't quite.
looks fine here. It's not too bad.
Mm.
It's not too bad though. And also, it was much better on Nick Fury, but at the same time, Sam Jackson also just doesn't age.
Yeah,
So, you know. Yeah, do we have anything major to say about this, or have we kind of tuckered ourselves out?
it's
Um.
really hard to talk about Phase 2 because it is, as we've said, kind of it's the weirdest phase, honestly.
It's the middle school phase.
Mm.
Hmm.
Uh. Darren
So,
Cross
shall we
is
call it a day?
Darren Cross is just a very generic Lex Luthor.
Darren Cross is probably the most generic villain in Phase 2, besides maybe Malekith. Like,
At
at
least,
least Alexander Pierce is interesting by virtue, at least by virtue of being played by Robert Redford.
Mm.
and also, is an elf. But
Uh.
yeah,
Scott's daughter is fairly adorable.
I love her. She's great.
when do you think she's gonna get her own super suit?
Very soon,
What when Young Avengers happens?
which is probably going to be quite soon.
Yeah, I imagine in the next few years, sometime.
Ideally, Young Avengers would be a show rather than a movie. I think it would fit the format better.
Possibly. They
And I
are
mean,
introducing.
they've had great success with the Disney Plus shows, right? So
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I
Well,
don't
they've
see.
been introducing members of the Young Avengers bit by bit. We're getting Kate Bishop in the Hawkeye show, and we're getting America Chavez in Doctor Strange 2. Plus, we got the twins in WandaVision. So I think
True, but the
only
twins
makes it.
kind of also look. Spoilers for WandaVision.
Just
I'm not
give
gonna spoil it, but you guys have watched it, so you know that the twins are a bit more of a complicated case.
give me a second. There. Spoiler warning is now up. You can talk about WandaVision.
Yeah. So the twins kind of maybe also don't exist
Mm.
And
yet.
maybe they do. It's ambiguous.
And maybe it's very complicated when a reality warper is involved. Things get complicated as to what is and is not real.
Reality warping shenaniganry is always fun.
Yeah.
Do you think Vision produces sperm?
God
I
damn it.
think explicitly he does. Yes.
Oh. Well,
Remember,
there is a version of Vision still flying about.
I mean, it's like with reality warping powers, it's not out of the question that she could just bring her vision back to life.
Mm.
True. Or, who knows, maybe she'll meet up with White Vision.
Did it have to be
That-
White Vision?
Yeah, I don't like that name.
Fine.
Why
Bleach
can't it be African American Vision? Or Latino Vision?
Or South Asian vision.
Yeah.
Or Native American Vision.
makes you think there is a Native American character named Vision who is a racist caricature?
God damn it.
Of course.
I think it's an X-Man or something. I don't know. Anyway, yes. Since we've run out of things to talk about, shall we?
Well, I do just
call
want
it
to
a
make
day?
mention of one more of Luis's lines, which is, "Thank you for welcoming us back, ma'am. It's not often you rob a house and get welcomed back. I mean, we just robbed you."
It's great. Oh, what we didn't mention was Hope.
Hmm.
Evangeline Lilly is pretty good in this, but she gets more to do in Ant-Man 2.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's everything.
Let me just check to make sure there's not something we've missed. No, I don't think so. Oh,
I will
Paxton.
say one other thing, in that this movie and Ant-Man 2 handle divorced families pretty well, I think.
Hmm.
What with the whole Scott and his ex-wife and him actually getting along with his ex-wife's husband, which is really neat.
I do like Paxton.
I'm glad that they didn't villainize Paxton just to make
Yeah.
Scott more sympathetic.
Yeah.
They could have easily done that, but I'm glad that they didn't.
I mean, yes, he was trying to arrest Scott, but he really was just doing his job.
His job.
To be fair, though, 1312.
Yes. Oh, yes.
So, yeah. I'm gonna let you guys end it.
All right. So that's all we have for you tonight. In terms of future streams, we will not be playing some D&D tomorrow. Unfortunately, some things have come up and we've had to cancel.
Or rather, postponed to next week.
Yeah, postpone.
Next weekend, though, we are going to be tackling. We're going to be doing Pride Month for next month. So next weekend, we will be talking about LGBTQ plus tropes,
Yay!
which is going to be fun.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's going to be fun and so very sad at times. But
yeah, it's going to be a lot.
Yes, unfortunately.
The other thing that's going to be next week, more Mass Effect. We've finally gotten rid of the racists in our party. So
and now we have the two bros, Rex and
Garrus.
I love those two. They're some of my favorite squad mates.
I'm pretty sure they're just gonna be our main party members at this point.
Well,
I don't know. You'll want to have Tully and Liara in your party occasionally.
Yeah, but like
I think
it's less of a sausage fest that way.
Anyways.
Anyway, and then next Thursday we'll probably be playing some board game. We don't have a Paradox Hour scheduled for that, so. But as always, check the Twitter if you want to know what might be happening. Even if the times I put down probably aren't accurate because our timing is terrible.
Yeah, it's the difficult thing about having flexible schedules. But yes, thank you everyone for joining us. Please like and subscribe and follow depending on the platform. And have a good night. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Later.